listening to the Everyday Astrology Podcast. I'm Hilary Scott, your astrologer, and this is the forecast for Monday, November 6th until Sunday, the 12th. So, we are about to embark upon another very busy week, very meaningful, lots of deep connections between planets that require us to go deep. And we're heading up into a new moon with a Scorpio new moon. So the other planets, we've got Mercury and Mars in Scorpio until it goes into Sagittarius this week. Mercury and then Venus will go into Libra, into its own sign, where it feels very comfortable and lovely and pampered and fancy. So if you want to get fancy and you want to have lovely things around you and feel a little taste of the finer things in life, then this Venus Libra will feel really lovely. It's like a very harmonious, peace-seeking energy. So we do start out the week with an important trine between Venus and Pluto, and that is on the heels of Saturn going direct. And Saturn direct will make you feel different. You'll probably feel more clarity. I mean, it's going direct in Pisces, so it's lost its edge. I guess that would be a good way to say it. In Pisces, Saturn doesn't really belong in Pisces because it's about boundaries, and Pisces is boundaryless. So that Neptunian energy is very different than the Saturnian energy, but also having Saturn there can define the undefinable, or it could reach into the soup of the cosmos and pull out amazing works of art and incredible ideas and cannons of information, artistic flair, and just all kinds of creativity comes from Pisces. So Saturn there can be what makes it real in the world. And that, a lot of, we can have dreams and we can stare at the clouds like Pisces likes to do. We can float in the tub. We can just sort of drift around, basically accomplishing nothing and just enjoying the beauty of life. But if you want to accomplish something, or you have any ambition to accomplish things, then you need something that's full of structure. And Saturn is there to do that. So it's interesting, the energy shift that we're all experiencing right now. With Saturn going direct, you might feel all of a sudden like, what was I thinking? Where was I going? Why was I doing that? You might suddenly get this sort of clarity that you were off track, or that what things didn't pan out like you thought that they would. They came together in an unexpected sort of way that maybe you could have seen coming, but you couldn't see it coming because you were in the fog. You were in that sort of days of Neptunian haze. So it's okay. Now we can see a little more clearly. It's also good to act on what you have discovered. You've got to, now that your eyes are open, you can't just mull about in the wrong situation. And that's what Saturn going direct will help you realize. On Monday, we have Venus trining Pluto. That gives us a sense of depth, import. Things are meaningful. They're powerful. They're destined. And that's a super cool, that feeling of destiny, or where you've met your soulmate. Often people who have Venus Pluto in their connection, in their charts together, their synastry charts, will have a feeling of fatedness, and unusual circumstances will have brought them together. And there's often a sense of just knowing that they're meant to be. There's this resonant energy. It's very deep. And when you feel that with somebody, it can be incredibly, you just can't shake it. You just have to know that it's real, even though it seems crazy. So if you have any sort of fated moments or lucky encounters, or sort of a real heart-to-heart depth happen with somebody unexpectedly or quickly or unusually, this could be very fated stuff going on right now, lifelong soulmate, create a legacy, build a family kind of energy. Very powerful. Probably because you've done all those things with this person before. We also have Mercury trining Neptune that day, which is important as well. Neptune is the cosmic soup. It's like the ether. It's where all the Akashic records sort of energy, where all of everything is swimming around for any of us to access. And when Mercury is trining that, it really like adds a flavor of that to our thinking. We can communicate in really maybe like magical, esoteric ways or very poetically. It's like really amazing art and language, books, novels, screenplays, songs, poetry, all of that can be created with this energy. Very powerful, like this channeled from God type stuff could go on with this energy. So again, see how it's important. See how these aspects that are happening are quite important. Like there's import with this energy. There is an opposition to the moon and Saturn that day too, which again, there's this sort of heaviness with Saturn where you realize that something is maybe a big responsibility or a big commitment, or like you just realize the weight of it. And that cannot, not be fun. You'd be like, I don't want to have to deal with it. It's like growing up when you're like, as you're trying to become an adult, it like sucks a lot of the time because it's super hard. Like so much of the responsibilities that you have to do as an adult are just shitty and difficult. So we all get to go through the growing up energy of Saturn, and we all do it in our own way. Some of us can feel fearful, some of us can fear aging or death, or all of us will fear that eventually. And we just need to sort of accept that that's part of the human experience. It's just depressing. It's just depressing. Saturn is actually my ruling planet, so I'm very familiar with Saturn. Okay. So we also have Tuesday's like a really uplifting day. Like after Monday, you're going to be like, oh, I get it. I understand the depth of what I'm doing and learning, and I'm transforming and I'm connecting, and all these wonderful sort of karmic grace period is coming into play, which is nice. And that rolls you into Wednesday when Venus goes into Libra. Oh, it's like the angels sing and you feel like you can relax and things are like just harmony is vibrating in the ethers and it feels nice and it's not complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can make it complicated though, if you would like to, by not being able to make a decision, feeling like you don't know what to do. There's so many sides of the story. There's so many different kinds of lattes you could have. There's so many different crystals you could choose, or aromatherapy, or things to study, or books to read. Like, it's just endless, the possibilities. And that energy can be very much Venus and Libra, where you just can't decide. It's like there's a cornucopia to choose from and you just can't decide. So that would be like the dark side of that energy. If you're feeling indecisive, just feel into your heart and maybe let your body decide. Do that thing where this is, I think, one of the easiest ways to do body testing, where you just sort of close your eyes and breathe in, breathe deep, breathe into your heart, breathe down into your core, ground yourself, and then ask yourself a question. Is this good for me? Is this, whatever it is, the right direction to bring me to my highest, most joyful life? And if your body leans forward, like a pendulum kind of like sways forward, then it's for you. And if it pushes back, then it's not. And it's like super easy to do that. So if you can't decide, just do that and see what you get. It'll be interesting. Maybe you'll just start to like sway sideways just to continue the Libra theme. That day too, Mercury is sextiling Pluto. And again, that import, there's depth, there's like deep thinking. Maybe you could communicate something very deep and profound, do some writing or just talking, call up your favorite Plutonian Scorpio friend and have like a super deep conversation. The sun is also in a difficult kind of connection to Chiron on Wednesday. There it adds this element of being forced into the contemplation of what you need to do to heal. You have to heal something. Something has to be worked upon or acknowledged, or someone else needs that from you. They need to be able to be a sounding board to you so that they can heal. So just the healing vibes are in the air. They're kind of discordant with the rest of the energy because everything else is sort of wants to just relax with that new Venus in Libra energy. But this is like, well, yeah, things are lovely, but this happened or that happened, or remember this story. But if you have someone to talk it out with, which is really lucky if you do, and I'm sure you do, and if you do, then do that, because it will be very cathartic and you could feel very sorted out about something so that you can move into this whole new domain with Saturn direct and the energy of just sort of, oh, now I get it. That was off track. I've learned this and this and this and this, and now I'm going to go this way. So you may not even know what way you're going, but you know you're not going that way anymore. So that's powerful. Just have the patience to sit with what's going to come next and just let life show up for you. And life should be less of a struggle. That's this new thing I'm trying to do. It's really tricky because it's quite against my natural inclinations. Well, which feels like my natural inclinations. But I've been learning about human design, and I'm a manifesting generator, which if you know anything about it, that'll give you a little bit of insight. And so I'm just learning about it. And there's this way that you have to respond to life instead of sort of go out and grab it, which I think I'm more inclined, being a Capricorn, to do. So it's been interesting and really synchronistic and magical since I've been trying to look at life this way. But all of us, I think, could benefit from just sort of letting life come to us instead of just being, I don't know, in the rat race, on the hamster wheel. Oh, my hubby was saying, when you're feeling like you're on the hamster wheel, you just got to keep your chin up and keep going. And he's a generator in human design. And I'm like, or if you feel like you're stuck on the hamster wheel, you could just jam your head into the spokes, which is so dark. But God, it seems so awful to feel stuck on the hamster wheel. So it's interesting if we can just wait and see what comes. And life is pretty magical for since I've been doing this for 3 weeks. Little really magical synchronicities have been happening. It's super cool. So I think this is just sort of maybe general good advice for being a human, is wait and see what is presenting itself so you know what direction to go. So you can kind of do that sans any of your programming. You can just do it based on your instinct and your gut feeling, or you're swaying towards instead of away. Okay, so Wednesday's busy, but also productive and kind of wonderful, and really write in your journal on Wednesday for sure. Communicate. Thursday, Mercury will be going into Sagittarius. This is a nice day. Things are going to lift. It's very hopeful. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, so there's this truth-seeking, buoyant, philosophical, everything has a purpose and things are meant to be kind of energy, which makes life a lot more palatable when you can realize the purpose of things. It just feels more productive when you're like, oh, that's what that meant, and I get this. And that's the kind of energy that comes with Mercury going into Sagittarius. Venus is conjunct the moon that day too, which is peaceful and lovely, and it's conjuncting its own energy. So Thursday's going to be good. I really do think Thursday's going to be good. And also Thursday could have some sort of maybe big reveal on the world stage about something important, something about justice and truth and harmony and fairness could come to light, or the lack thereof, and it being highlighted. That could be really interesting. Friday, difficult, maybe depressing day, or at the very least sort of frustrating day between Mercury and Saturn. Maybe you have to sit on the phone with your bank or something, some sort of thwarting, frustrating energy could happen, or even maybe you're going to have like a bout of realizing how sad the human condition is, how depressing it all is. Because Saturn really does love that, and it's connecting to Mercury. So often people with Mercury, Saturn square in their charts can be very like depressed, very sad, very dour, and like prone to depression, really, and just sort of dark thoughts, dark, just focusing on because there is a lot of shitty things you could focus on. That is for sure, right? Oh my goodness, it's endless. So that might be one of these days where we all feel like that. And we're also starting to feel sensitive because we're heading up to a very powerful Scorpio new moon, which is going to be on Monday the 13th, just after midnight. So very, very early on the 13th. So you can feel it coming into the weekend. It's Saturday. Like, it's kind of difficult. There's an opposition between Mars and Uranus. That's like a massive power struggle. Like, Uranus wants freedom, and it's in Taurus. So it's already not feeling that great because Taurus is a lot less into changing than Uranus energy is. So we feel that in us somewhere. We're all probably like, I mean, more if you have these specific planets in your birth chart, but all of us are under the same frequencies. We just all tune into them differently. So this energy could be like world stage stuff is often the outer planets too. So an opposition between Mars in Scorpio and volatile, like warrior Mars. Also the fact that it's in this investigative exposure kind of energy and feeling combative is in an opposition to shock you out of your stupor Uranus. So, I mean, it could be a very interesting weekend. I'm interested to see how it all go down. And the moon will be going into Scorpio that day as well, and also squaring Pluto. So, like, yikes. That's a big day. So if I could do whatever I would want to do on that day, or even I would just decide to do what I want to do on that day, I would probably stay home. Just hunker down. I would probably not do anything that could explode, because explosions are a thing with these two energies. Yeah, I would just be careful and cautious and like lay low and have one of those like, oh, let's have some popcorn and watch action films, or I wouldn't do that, but like something fun, and like Ted Lasso, which is a show that is just so heartwarming. I'd highly recommend that show if you want your heart and soul to be warm. So coming into Sunday, we have an opposition between Jupiter and the moon in Scorpio. That's like a big energy. It could be where we actually get like a big infusion of buoyancy, and we feel like part of us wants to lay low and another part of us wants to grow and evolve and tell the truth. And so try to find a balance. That's always what it is with oppositions. We're supposed to integrate that energy and express both of those energies instead of like either or. It's this and that. So it is a busy week, as you can see, and I will come back next week to talk about the Scorpio new moon that we're heading into. Just know that you'll be feeling that energy building going into this weekend for sure. So see how the moon juice affects you. This is especially powerful with Scorpio. Scorpio's a really deep, intuitive, psychic, healing, transformative energy. So it's a lot. We got a lot going on. So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you're feeling the powerful transformation juice that we've got and that you can use it to the best of your ability.